Hi, I'm Oscar,
And I'm Charlotte.
and together we're the F1 couple. So today we're going to be talking about the Spanish Grand Prix, doing a little wrap up of the weekend, talking about the winners and the losers, and some other people who maybe don't quite fit into either of those categories. But what we're going to start off doing is having a little debate and discussing between the two of us whether we thought the race was boring or not. So lots, you're welcome to start on this one.
I've just noticed you've given me notes.
Yeah.
I don't think it was boring. This isn't reading from the notes. I don't think it was boring as somebody who very much likes Verstappen and thinks he's a great driver, if not slightly aggressive. It was just tense to watch. And yeah, okay, maybe other than those two, there wasn't much going on, but it was tense. And I was on the edge of my seat, literally. So, I'd say it was exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was the worst race in the world, but I don't think it was that great. It's just, I mean, always when we go to Spain, there's hardly any overtaking there, just the nature of the track. And this race wasn't really any different to that. Yes, we got a little bit of spice on lap one, with Verstappen muscling his way through past Hamilton, and then yeah, so, all the other sort of little bits of racing that go on lap one. But other than that, there wasn't really a whole lot. Usually, I mean, we've come to expect even if there's not really a race at the front, there's still going to be some racing through the midfield. But there wasn't really that either this race. But yeah, there was that little bit. I mean, there was that it was sort of this strategy thing, but that doesn't mean it's there was no good racing because of that. It depends on what you want to call a good race. If you want to look at it, call a good race because of racing, there wasn't really that much racing in terms of wheel-to-wheel action. If you want to say a good race in terms of strategy, then yeah, probably. But even then, it wasn't that great because it sort of felt inevitable that Hamilton was going to hunt him down and catch Verstappen anyway and win.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, yeah. The thing was, it's like, for me, it was tense throughout. And they were racing. Hamilton, I can't speak. What's it called? Verstappen. Hamilton and Verstappen were, they were, were going round and round, and Hamilton was getting within a second, and then he wasn't, and it was, is he going to do it? And then the strategy thing just blew my mind a little bit, and it was exciting because it was, well, is Verstappen going to run out of tyres completely? Is Hamilton going to, I don't know, it was exciting for me. And yeah, I don't know, you're just going to disagree with me.
No, I'm not necessarily going to disagree with you. I'm just not a big fan of this track at all. I don't like it. It's not produced a good race for quite a long time.
I don't know, because when we play on F1 2013, it produces some pretty good races.
Yeah, a little bit of spice in there. Usually you rear-ending me, but yeah, enough about that.
I just think it's good because it looks like a Geodude.
Yeah, I guess.
I have very low standards.
Yeah, but it's just, yeah, I've not liked this track for a while. I've been sort of waiting for it to drop off the calendar, and it just hasn't. Yeah, it just always seems to keep hanging around. Just can't quite get rid of it. And it kind of frustrates me, people then saying this has been a good race, that's then giving more motivation to keep it on the calendar. But just because it was a good race in terms of the standard of Spanish Grand Prix races doesn't mean that it was actually a good race. Certainly if you compare it to the first two races of the season, it was nowhere near that. Most of the races last year it doesn't come close. So yeah, for me, not great. Was it boring? Probably not. Probably not objectively boring, because it was certainly kept you on your toes still, with Hamilton hunting Verstappen down. But was it good? Was it good? Was it great? No, probably not for me.
That's all I have to say. I don't think that you can say it's boring because, I'm sorry, Portugal was boring.
Yeah, but I don't think this was that different
to
the race in Portimao. I thought it was pretty much the same. I think in Portimao there was maybe a little bit more wheel-to-wheel action than there was here. But yeah, I think they're pretty similar.
I think we should move on.
Yeah. So everyone, please feel free to let us know what you thought down in the comments or elsewhere. And without further ado, we'll move on to some of our winners from the week then. I think the first choice we have to go with really is Mercedes. Obviously, number one, they've won the race. It's a 1-3 again for them. But I've gone with the team because just it was all the perfect team game, really, this week in terms of the strategy call that led to Hamilton winning. It wasn't just. It certainly wasn't down to him. It was down to the guys they have there and back in the factory who are running these simulations, working out what strategy is going to be best. And they absolutely pulled one out of the bag again. And now they have a pretty solid lead in both the constructors and the drivers' championships. And unless they have, a really bad race like the next time or the next time out after that, then they're probably going to hold that. Unless Red Bull really start upping their game and getting a couple of wins on the bounce, then yeah, they're gonna hold that for certainly a few races, if not indefinitely.
I disagree.
Yeah.
First of all, you're kind of forgetting that Mercedes is two drivers.
Yeah, but this isn't just the drivers. This is the team as well.
I appreciate that.
All of the people who are coming up with the strategies and.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I don't think that you can say Mercedes as a whole is a winner when only half of the team is a winner. In my head.
Yeah, well, but both drivers can't win the race. They still come.
I'm not
three.
saying that they can both win the race, but what I'm saying is that I don't think Bottas was good enough, and I don't think you can say that was a winning weekend for his side of the team.
Yeah, well, I still think it is because they came 1-3. They played an absolute blinder, and
but also
are leading both championships.
Well, it doesn't really matter though because Bottas wasn't willing to let Lewis go through. He was reluctant. I don't think that you can say as a team. I don't think they are working very well as a team.
I think the team is working really well. Just because Bottas
But he's part of the team.
Yeah, of course. But this is just one part, one single part out of a team of many hundreds of people. And it wasn't that bad. Yeah, it didn't look that great. Bottas not letting him through as early as possible, but at the end of the day, it didn't hinder Lewis in his strive for victory.
No, but it could have done.
It could have done, but it didn't.
Okay. Well, I think the next person, really, while we're talking about Bottas, is the guy that did an incredible overtake on him. Leclerc, I was very excited for this weekend. I think that turn 3, when he went round the outside, that overtake was just bonkers. And, he just did so well holding off Bottas. And I think this, going back to not sure Bottas is, a winner for this weekend. But I think that Leclerc did a really good job. I mean, he came fourth in the end. And no, he didn't. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he came fourth.
He came fourth.
Yeah.
I started doubting myself.
Yeah, no, it was just another really solid race. There's something we come to expect from him is qualifying higher up than the car deserves. Okay, maybe at the moment the car does deserve to be around there, maybe a couple of places further back than the fourth he qualified. But then bringing home the fourth position as well was great, and I loved the move around the outside of Bottas on lap 1 through turn 3. Yeah, very. I think afterwards he said that he hadn't actually seen Alonso's move that he did there. I don't know, back in 2013 or whenever it was. But yeah, it was, both of those moves are incredible. Give me goosebumps seeing them. So shall we move on to our next driver, who's Daniel Ricciardo? I think it just finally showed us again this season, like we haven't really seen it before this year. That Ricciardo cutting edge, that Ricciardo brilliance, coming back out with a big smile at the end as well.
That was nice to see him smiling again. I didn't like him sad last week.
Yeah, because obviously the races have been a bit rough. Obviously his qualifying's still been pretty decent. He's got a 3-1 head-to-head against Lando at the moment, and beat him again this week, qualifying in 7th. And he had a pretty decent start as well. gaining 2 positions up to 5th after just a couple of corners, which was pretty impressive, especially it's vital around this track to do that when there are so few opportunities to overtake after that. So yeah, up into 5th, and then he just held on to that for pretty much the whole race, fending off Perez in the much quicker Red Bull for much of the race, until obviously Perez, he did a pretty tasty move around the outside of turn 1. Not much Ricciardo could have done about that, but yeah, coming home in 6th, very, very solid. I think his best of the season. And hopefully this is something he can now build on. He's taken a few races to look settled, but he's finally done it and beating his teammate for the first time this year, and yeah, just getting a solid haul of points, a good race, a clean race from him as well, and just hopefully getting more learning in the car, and yeah, I just hope now he can build on this. Monaco up next has been one of his favourite tracks throughout his career, so yeah, should be a good race for him there.
Yeah, it was just like you say, it was just really nice to see him back and seeing him starting to settle. I don't have a lot else to say on that. I think you've covered it and a half, but I guess the final winner is just a very quick mention is Schumacher. I'm really pleased for him. He managed to outqualify Latifi in his Williams, his very specific Williams, and I just think it's exciting. He's showing so much potential in a car that doesn't show a lot of potential.
Yeah, it's certainly good to see, especially after last week as well, when he beat Latifi during the race and now out-qualifying him on the Saturday as well. It's just a solid start. It's outperforming the car he has, which is all he can do really at the moment. And if he's doing that, then he's in a very good position.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, shall we now look at some of the losers from the weekend?
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty tough picking any losers out from this race, and winners, to be honest. It just felt like a race where everyone sort of ended up in the positions that they were meant to be in. It just felt like everyone was fairly middle of the road. By the end of the race, the cars were mostly in the order that you sort of expected them to be, with the fastest ones near the front, and then all the midfield ones sort of sorted by their pace they seem to have at the moment. Dividing up into winners and losers was pretty tricky, but we've managed to do that anyway. So shall we start off with probably, the outstanding loser, if you want to say that. Maybe that's a bit harsh of the weekend. I don't
think that's harsh, given...
Yeah. I think it has to be Tsunoda.
I was really disappointed in him. Yeah. And not for his performance. You know how I feel about drivers being sportsmen. And he just wasn't. It was so inappropriate for him to lose his temper and blame the car and the team for his performance, essentially. I don't know, it just made me mad. And then when his car broke down, this is going to sound bad, but some of me was like, well, there's your karma then, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the car breaking down, he's got nothing to do with him, really.
Well, it's his karma.
Yeah. Flashbacks to Alonso and Monza being like, karma. Qualifying his performance wasn't great. I mean, going out in Q1 when Gasly's going qualifying, I don't know, I think 11th he was.
Yeah, he was, because he just missed it, didn't he?
Yeah. So, not great, but, still a rookie, so, you can forgive him a little bit, but then, criticising, saying the car was really bad, if I'm going to paraphrase. And then coming out afterwards and saying, sort of questioning why his car is different to his teammates' one. And I feel like there's a little element of in there him having a little bit of broken English, a bit like I did in that sentence. Actually, that wasn't great, because I feel like what he was trying to say and get across was something else I'd heard earlier in the weekend after practice. I think Gasly had come out and said that Tsunoda and himself had given completely opposing feedback about the car. So I feel like what he was trying to get across was that, with that exact sentiment, that his car is behaving completely different to his teammates, but not trying to say that the team are sabotaging his car and giving him a worse car. Just that they're performing differently and it's unknown.
Yeah, I get that. I don't think that he was saying that the team was sabotaging. But my point is that I don't think he was taking responsibility like he should be.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, after qualifying, it's like in qualifying, it's just down to the driver and how they put that lap together. And he didn't put a good enough lap together, and that's pretty much that. Yeah. I mean, if he'd have got a couple more corners better, then he'd have been through to Q2 then, and from then on maybe into Q3 if he puts a blinding lap in Q2. But he didn't do that.
I think the thing was he showed so much promise in the first race.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah, I'm hoping he can get his mojo back a bit. It's just sort of, I mean, nothing you can do in the race. When your car breaks down, then that's that. But yeah, hoping he can bounce back with some good results in the next few races.
Yeah, and then I guess the other one is Perez.
Yeah, just.
But I don't know.
I mean, yeah, like it was difficult to pick losers, but he still did a good race and came through the field to finish 5th. But he had a very poor qualifying. I mean, there was acres and acres of space to put his car 4th on the grid between Bottas's time and Leclerc's time, like 7/10 or something. But he was well away from that, down in 8th starting. But yeah, he came out afterwards and said he had he wasn't feeling well. He had a problem with his shoulder, these sort of things, which probably fair enough. But still, you you want your drivers to be performing at their absolute best, no matter what. But yeah, so that wasn't great. And then that meant that he couldn't be in that mix at the front. I think ultimately this is probably what cost Red Bull the win. Because if he had been there or thereabouts with Bottas, sort of 7, 10, 12, 15 seconds behind Verstappen and Hamilton, then Hamilton doesn't really have that luxury to be able to come in and stop, because although Bottas wasn't super friendly in getting out of the way, Perez would have been much less so and been proper racy with him. And that would have likely meant that if Hamilton came in and came out, Perez would hold him up for, I don't know, at least a couple of laps. And during that time, it's taking life out of Lewis's tyres as well. Just sitting behind him and then also having to push harder to get past. And then, he doesn't have tyres at the end to fight Verstappen as much. And also, if he comes out and he comes out right behind Perez, if Perez holds him up for one lap, that's enough time for Verstappen to come in, pit, and get back out in front of him.
Yeah, but then I don't know. I think I'm finding it very difficult to say he's doing badly, because in comparison to the other Red Bull drivers in recent times, he's really not. He's doing significantly better.
Yeah, but I don't...
And I appreciate that... I think it's difficult because people expect the second... I know it's second driver, but, it's the second driver, to be the same as Max. But Max is just something else.
Yeah. But no one's expecting Perez to be right at Max's level.
No, but
they're expecting him to be there to be able to stop Mercedes doing things like exactly what happened in this race.
Well, yeah, but when you've got... The thing is that you've got Lewis and Max, who are just a whole other... like a whole league of their own, almost. Yeah. And then you've got Bottas in a car that is in a league of its own. I don't know whether Perez really should have been any different than... Yeah, okay, his qualifying was bad. I'll give you that. But, P5, P4, whatever. I know it was P5 this week, but that's about where I would expect him to be. And I appreciate that there's more to do in the race, like you say, but I don't think that it's fair to say he was a loser of the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's because I picked him as a loser because ultimately he's probably cost Red Bull the win. I think that's fair enough. I mean,
who
obviously,
could have done a better job? Who could have done a better job?
What, in the car? Well, I don't know. Another Verstappen. But if he'd have got the qualifying right and been where he should have been in fourth, then even if he loses one place at the start, he's probably going to get that back. Just similar to what Bottas did, and be in that space about 7 seconds back. And then, Red Bull have another card to play.
Yeah. Shall we move on?
Yeah. I mean, only those two losers, if you want to call them that. I think it's kind of harsh on both of them, but yeah, like I said earlier, it's just because everyone sort of was fine.
I don't know how you can say it's harsh on Tsunoda.
Well, I mean, bad qualifying, but then nothing he could have really done in the race.
But it doesn't mean that he wasn't a sucky weekend for him.
Yeah, it was still sucky. Yeah. So yeah, let's move on to some of our honourable mentions, or maybe not really move on, because I think the first one we need to sort of deal with is Verstappen. So yeah, he did that great move at the start. Got his elbows out again. It was pretty rude but fair. I think his move he pulled on Hamilton to take the lead. And yeah, he was holding that pretty decently. Hamilton was just sort of there, stuck about a second behind. And he didn't really put a foot wrong for me. Maybe you could argue with his first pit stop. He obviously made a late call himself, and came in. The crew weren't quite ready for him. It cost him a couple of seconds there, and it had that moment where it was a bit touch and go whether Hamilton could then pit and get back out ahead. But obviously Mercedes left him out a little bit longer, so it didn't really come to anything. But other than that, I don't think he really did anything wrong all race, and just simply got beaten by a faster car. Really,
yeah,
better strategy and faster car.
It's one of those things, like, I really feel for him because he's an incredible driver, and it's almost like to say he can't catch a break is probably not quite fair, but it's almost like that. He's not doing things. Yeah, okay, like last season, he made plenty of mistakes that cost him positions, or you do silly things, but he's been driving phenomenally well this season, and I'm just like, come on, just let it happen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, saying not catching a break is maybe a little extreme, because I think he's still there. He's been top 2 every race, so he can't really complain about that. And it's just been like those tiny errors, like running wide in qualifying. He's done that twice. Once in Imola, which cost him pole, and again in Portimao, where he got his lap time deleted, which would have been pole as well. And then running wide in Portimao again to lose the fastest lap point. But tiny, like really small things. So yeah, I got it's much better than not necessarily last season. I don't think he made that many big mistakes. I think it was pretty solid. I think I've said before in Turkey when he was going up against Perez, and he spun out when he was looking like he was definitely going to go on and win that race. But other than that, I don't think there were any major things. But certainly the seasons before that, there have been some big, some high-profile mistakes. But none this weekend, really. It just was good, which maybe I'm a bit harsh not putting him in the winners category, but ultimately he was winning the race and he didn't then finish first. So can't really. It's one of those weird ones, like just not a winner, but sounds like it should be a winner.
It's one of the things that I actually find really, really frustrating about this sport.
Yeah.
Because it's not done necessarily on the driver, and the I know that it's a team sport. I know that it's more than just the driver, but when you've got people racing with completely different potentials against the same, trying to achieve the same goal, it doesn't make sense to me. And I think Verstappen is one of those people that it would be so interesting to see what he could do against Hamilton if they were like starting from a level playing field.
Yeah, but
And I think this is why I honestly this weekend I found upsetting, I guess, just from that point of view, because and I know it's the nature of F1 but it was just like he did so well and he's kind of got, yes, I know he has something to show for it, but he's kind of got nothing to show for it.
Yeah. I mean, he's still got plenty to show for it. 19 points, still pretty good.
Yeah, but like you were saying earlier, that's the championship gone in your opinion.
No, that's not what I was saying at all. You completely spun my words.
No, it's not. That's literally what you were saying.
I was just saying that Mercedes have a good lead now. Well, I mean, like two wins for Verstappen, and he's back in the lead. So, yeah, I get what you're saying. I wouldn't want F1 to be a spec series because then all the manufacturers pull out. They're mostly there so they can, do some stuff that's relevant to their road programs as well. But I understand your frustration.
Yeah, I think
what I would say is I think the cars are pretty even this year. We are very lucky to have both Red Bull and Mercedes very, very close to each other.
Yeah, I think I'm not saying that I would want them to all drive the same car, but what I am saying is that I would be interested to see what would happen. As in, I just not necessarily for points or anything, but just I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I'll
organise it then. Get the money out of the biscuit tin, and we can buy an F1 car or two F1 cars that are identical and put them in it. Shall we move on?
I think we better.
Yeah. So, next person I think is worthy of a mention is Pierre Gasly. I think if it was his choice, from what he was saying on his team radio, he'd have probably put himself in the losers category here. He didn't sound pleased with himself for getting his penalty at the start for overshooting his grid box. And he shouldn't be pleased. It was a clear mistake, a big mistake, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I was surprised when it was only a 5-second penalty. To be honest, I thought things like that were sort of big, like punished larger than just 5 seconds, but clearly not. But anyway, after that, he recovered really well. I think doing some decent overtaking. Like it was that sort of battle for the 10th place that there was, kind of a couple of decent little races going on there.
Just a whole train of them.
Yeah, a little train going on, and he was the one who managed to come out on top, and then finished, inside a second, right on Ocon's rear wheel for 9th place, which then ultimately shows that he couldn't have possibly been a winner because that penalty ultimately cost him another place and doubling his points from the race. Yeah. So yeah, certainly worthy of mention. But I don't think he's punishing himself too hard with the words he was saying about getting the penalty.
I feel like he does that though.
Yeah. I think
that's just sort of in his nature, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's the drivers. They seem to be either one way or the other. Like like people like Schumacher, Michael Schumacher, and like Senna. They never thought that they did anything wrong. They were always like, oh yes, I'm in the right, no matter what. And then you have people like like Gasly and Leclerc, who are also great drivers, but are like really self-critical of themselves. Any mistake they make, they really lambast themselves.
Have you just compared Gasly to Schumacher?
Yeah, I picked two high-profile examples for that. I mean, I'm pretty sure Verstappen's the same. He's not really one to admit wrongdoing, I don't think.
But I think that you kind of... The reason that they've got to where they are, I think, is because they've probably noticed what they've done wrong and learnt from it. Especially, like, Verstappen can't get to where he is without... he's got to be critical of himself. He might not share it openly, but he's got to be. He knows when he's made a mistake. And he knows how to fix it. But I think, like, Gasly's just a bit more vocal about it.
Yeah, the French.
He's just
They're just French and
he just
have
strikes
that
me as a
emotion.
very sad guy. Like, not sad as in like lame, although after I saw that what was it? That game. I'm gonna offend people now, aren't I? There was a World of Warcraft? I don't know, he was blowing some horn and then was playing a game that I was like, what was that?
I have no idea. I did not see this.
It was on Instagram.
I don't feel like I've missed out though.
I don't know. It was something, but like, yeah, I just think he's quite a. Oh no, he just seems sad all the time.
I don't think so. I've seen him happy. He was certainly happy in Monza last year.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, obviously, but I don't know. I think it's just his personality, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So these next two I think are worth mention. I've grouped them together, and it's Norris and Sainz, teammates from last year, good friends. And I couldn't really fit them into winners or losers category because they were just sort of there, like I was saying, there where you'd expect them to be. I mean, maybe not expect them to be because obviously they want to be in front of their teammates. Norris has done that in every race so far before this one this year. But yeah, they were there picking up the points for seventh and eighth, meaning that, you know, both Ferraris and McLarens were inside that top 8. So yeah, where you're expected, just solid races from them both, but not spectacular, either good or bad.
I actually wouldn't even mention them.
Yeah, what? Just because it was quiet?
Well, I expected more. I don't think either of them were particularly pressuring anyone. I don't think they were just there. And I think having seen Norris for the last couple of weeks, I was a bit disappointed, honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
I know that he can't maintain that every week, and I know, like, things change, but it was just, I don't think either of them were particularly competitive. I can't remember exactly what happened to Norris, but wasn't he P?
He was ninth on the grid and came home 8th, I believe. Sainz just ahead of him.
Well, I just feel like, I don't know, that's disappointing for me, and I don't know if that's just.
Yeah, I mean,
he's
already set high standards for him this year by being best of the rest in every race.
I appreciate that they're still, picking up points and all that, but I think to say he had a good solid race is a bit much.
No, I mean, what else would you say? It wasn't bad, was it? It was just solid.
It was just average. Like,
yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
I just mean I think they were just nothing, and I don't think that I would put them in the worth a mention category.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are we going to do? Come here and just say, oh yeah, Hamilton, he won, that was great. See you next week.
That's pretty much what happened.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I was saying this wasn't a good race.
Yeah, but
because everyone was just there, like doing their thing about where they should be, having a nice average time. Because all the cars were performing exactly where they should be. There was no one being spectacular. There was no one being rubbish. Yeah, see my point?
No,
yeah.
I don't.
Won you over. It was a boring race after all.
No, I completely and utterly disagree with you.
Yeah, but you've just said, I don't even know what they did. They were just there. And these are guys who came home 7th and 8th.
Yeah, but just because Norris and Sainz were boring doesn't mean, behind them when they had their little train, I thoroughly enjoyed watching that.
Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoyed watching the Verstappen Hamilton thing. For a while, I was like, come on, Leclerc, you're going to be on the podium, and then he let me down a little bit. But, there were exciting elements, and when Tsunoda's car just stopped, I was a happy girl.
Why? Because finally something was happening.
No, I don't think that you can say it was a boring race. I'm sorry, but it just wasn't. I think Norris and Sainz were particularly boring, but I don't think the rest of the race was.
Okay, if you say so.
Speaking of people that I don't think were boring, I was very impressed with Ocon this weekend.
Yeah.
I think I said before that I want to say don't rate him very highly, but he's one of those drivers that's just there for me. He's just, but I've been super impressed with him. I felt like he didn't shine last year, and I feel like he's starting to shine a little bit, and I'm pleased with him.
Yeah, I mean, last year he just
Poor
wasn't.
him.
Yeah. I mean, last year he wasn't really hot all season until in Sakir, where he obviously got that podium. He just was being pretty consistently outdriven by Ricciardo. But this year, it wasn't a great first race, but since then he's been pretty on it. And qualifying last time in Portimao in 6th, now in 5th, very good, very solid. But then it was just a bit of a quiet race from him. Nothing really happened. I think the Alpine just didn't have the pace it looked like it had last time out in Portugal. And yeah, he eventually came home 9th. And if there had been another, 100 meters of the race, he'd have probably been 10th. So yeah, I mean he'd be disappointed with that. But I'm not really sure his doing that. I think just the Alpine, the pace not being there this weekend. I'm hoping it will be back because they looked like they were going to be closer to McLaren and Ferrari, but yeah, I mean, this time out it wasn't to be for them.
I don't know if it's fair to. I appreciate that the level of pace potentially wasn't there in Portugal, but it's not like they've gone back to square one. It's not.
Well, no, that's not what I was saying. But
no, but also you're saying like
last time now they looked like they were good. They had significantly closed the gap to McLaren and Ferrari, and the gap was quite a bit wider this time.
But you had Sainz, Norris, Ocon, like in 7th, 8th, 9th. So I'd say that gap has been significantly closed and maintained.
Yeah, but it wasn't like it was a train. It wasn't like he was right there pushing them.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, I mean he was ahead of them, and then they got past him on pace.
Yeah, but okay.
Yeah. So that's that.
I don't know. Just qualifying was good.
His qualifying was great. I've not doubted that. It was really great. He did a really superb job in putting that car 5th. But just the pace of it wasn't there, and he dropped back to 9th. Yeah. So I mean, I can't think of anyone else worthy of a mention, really.
Okay.
I mean, it's sort of like the Alfa Romeos, the Williams, the Haas. They were just sort of there in the positions you expect
I can
them.
always mention a Williams.
So yeah, I think that's about time that we wrap this up this week. So 2 weeks and we're off to Monaco. That should be a good one. Well, maybe.
Max to win.
Yeah, I mean we've seen Verstappen and Hamilton dueling on the streets of Monaco before, wheel-to-wheel action. So hopefully we'll get a bit more of that. Or it could just be one of those typical ones where it just goes around in a train for 82 laps or however long it is, and we all have a nice little nap. But fingers crossed it's going to be a good one. And
I'm hoping it's going to be like my F1 2013, where I just bounce off the walls.
Just bouncing off the walls. I'm sure it won't be quite like that. But qualifying is always a spectacle. So, I mean, that's probably my favourite part of the weekend during Monaco, seeing the cars go around so quite pushing the limits, like rubbing right against the Arco barriers. Yeah.
And it's Williams' 750th race.
Is it? Oh, that's a good little stat you're putting out there.
I know.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be a good one for them and they won't both be in the wall.
I entered a competition today.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. They've got a competition going about you can get your name on a car.
Yeah. Sponsored by Williams, this video, yeah. Make sure you enter the competition.
No, don't enter the competition because I want my name on the car.
We're not sponsored by Williams, but Williams, if you're listening, feel free to drop us a DM.
Oh, you're ridiculous. Unless you're George Russell, in which case,
yeah.
I'm fully joking.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, everyone, please let us know. Did you think that was a good race or a boring race? Did we get it right with our winners and losers? Or do you think there were no winners and losers and it was just all a bit meh? And yeah, let us know your predictions for Monaco. Is it going to be a banger or is it going to be another snooze fest? And yeah, find us on Twitter and Instagram as ever. We're at the F1 Couple. Like and subscribe, all those good things. And until our next podcast, we'll see you around.